He's a member of the Intelligence Committee. Congressman, thanks very much for joining us. Happy holidays. Want to start first with the president's comments that we saw in Iraq, and we're hearing some of it. Some of these clips are going to come in dribs and drabs because of some technical problems that some of the crews on the ground there in Iraq had getting that video out. But on this surprise holiday visit to Iraq, the president apparently said about ISIS, we have knocked them out, we have knocked them silly. Have we?
Well, first of all, Jim, let's all be glad that the president is no longer alone in the White House. Evidently, the markets are as well. I'm going to set aside any criticism I might have of him for visiting Iraq 2 years into his administration. I think it should have come much sooner, in part because I'm glad he finally did it, and better late than never. I think it's totally appropriate for a president to go to war theater and extend to the troops the heartfelt wishes and prayers, frankly, of the American people. But I think what is deeply disappointing is that when he went to Iraq, he used it as an occasion to advance his specific policy objective, his new policy to withdraw from Syria. And I think that's a highly inappropriate use of a visit like this. He ought to be there first, foremost, and last, and only for the troops that are there.
So you think engaging in this kind of political debate and trying to tout this decision to move U.S. troops out of Syria was a mistake?
Totally. He ought to be there for the troops. Jim, I have the unbelievable honor to represent the 45,000 people per day that report to work at Joint Base Lewis McChord outside Tacoma, Washington. And I've had the privilege to be in Afghanistan to visit with some of those people. There was only one purpose for that visit, not just to learn more, but to extend to them our best wishes and to let them know that the American people are as supportive of them as service members as we can be. And on behalf of the American people, that's what the president should have been doing, period.
And President Trump was highly critical of President Obama and his decision to remove troops from Iraq. You'll recall during the campaign, Abby Phillip just played it a few moments ago. He referred to President Obama as the founder of ISIS and so on. Does it appear, in your view, that the president has a plan to avoid a similar outcome this time around?
The only plan that I've ever observed from President Trump, frankly, is that he would pull out one of his 4 tried and true plays. He only has 4. He doesn't have 3, he doesn't have 5, he doesn't have any other number. And his 4 plays are deny, attack, play the victim, and change the subject or distract. And virtually everything that he does falls into one of those 4 categories. Now, my concern of late, Jim, is that as the Mueller investigation appears to be reaching a crescendo and is a greater peril to him, then when he plays the distraction card, or change the subject card, it has to be even more chaotic, more dramatic, in order to change the subject and divert attention from where the Mueller investigation has gotten to us at this point. And so I think there is great peril for America, the American government, and the American people as we get closer to the conclusion of the Mueller investigation, that he will do things like this just to change the subject.
And meanwhile, as you know, Congressman, we're now into the 5th day of a partial government shutdown, and President Trump said earlier during this trip to Iraq that he's willing to do whatever it takes to get a wall. Let's play some of what he had to say.
Whatever it takes. I mean, we're going to have a wall. We're going to have safety. We need safety for our country, even from this standpoint. We have terrorists coming in through the southern border. We have the terrorists also coming in, fellas, through the southern border.
Your response to that, Congressman?
Well, first of all, I think virtually all Americans want improved border security. I know I certainly do. But I'd say a couple of things about it. First of all, this is not what he said last week through his vice president, who told the Senate that he was okay on the clean continuing resolution without his $5 billion demand for a wall. And as a consequence of that communication from the vice president of the United States, the Senate passed unanimously that continuing resolution. It was only after he heard from a couple of hosts on Brand X alternative network that he decided to change his mind. So it's not clear to me what he says is going to hold for how long. That's the first thing I'd say about that. We just don't know with him. Second thing I'd say about it, Jim, is let's remember that we have appropriated money for improved border security. Last year it was nearly $1.4 billion, and nowhere near all of it has been spent. So he's asking for American taxpayer dollars, not for the Mexican government to pay for it, as he promised at the beginning of his campaign, when he hasn't even yet spent that which he was given for the last fiscal year.
Okay, Congressman Denny Heck, thanks very much for joining us, and happy holidays. Good talking to you, Congressman. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim.